Welcome to the Daily Briefing from interest.co.nz. I'm David Chaston. Today we benchmark some key indicators with Australia, look at the latest mortgage rate changes, update how New Zealand is performing in world competitiveness, and we'll wrap up with what the other media are reporting. I guess if it's primarily high earnings you seek, you'll be watching this from Australia. But if you have decided there are other great reasons to live in New Zealand, here is the score in benchmarking the two countries. There is nothing special about the 7 categories we're about to review, except that they are economic and they affect the way each of our two economies deliver prosperity to us. Retail sales growth is higher in Australia. Consumer confidence, however, is higher here. Building consent growth for housing is way better here. Inflation is lower here, as is unemployment. But the cost of mortgages is lower in Australia, while the returns on term deposits are much higher here. That's 7 benchmark items. So what's the score? New Zealand 5, Australia 2. So out behind in everything. True, the lure of high earnings across the ditch may be strong, but what we Kiwis need to do is to focus on benchmarking at every level of our economy and key in on productivity so that our earnings can rise to be competitive with not only Australia but with other OECD countries as well. Also, money costs continue to push higher and the recent rate of increase has been quickening. This will not be much of a surprise to regular users of this service, but small rises have become relentless and banks are about to raise rates to catch up. The first to do so in this latest round is the ANZ, who have upped their 1-year rate to 9.7%. Their 2-year rate is now 9.4%. These are pretty heady rises, up by 20 basis points, but they look justified when you see what the wholesale rates have been rising by. New Zealand relies on international money to fund much of its mortgage demand, and that is getting more expensive as the international credit crunch starts to bite. We won't be able to avoid these effects. Swap rates for 1-year money have climbed 10 to 15 basis points this week alone, double that since Labour weekend. The credit crunch will soon bring 10% fixed rate loans from banks, so if you're about to get into the market for a new loan or a rollover, get negotiating early. New Zealand has slid further down the World Economic Forum's global competitiveness rankings from 21st to 24th, the lowest ever. Back in the early part of the decade, New Zealand ranked around 14th and 15th. Immediately after the reforms of the 1990s, the ranking was even higher. The US retains its position as the world leader in competitiveness, followed by Switzerland and Denmark. Australia is 19th, and it also slipped from 16th. The forum's criteria include basic requirements and efficiency-enhancing factors such as higher education and training, goods, labour and financial market efficiency, technological readiness and market size. New Zealand's weakest areas are in infrastructure, economic stability and technology. Arresting our slide so far this decade unfortunately does not seem to be of any concern in Wellington. As a country we seem to be far too busy dividing up the cake rather than thinking about how to grow it. You can link to the full rankings table from the news page on this website. And finally today, a quick look at some other recent items of interest. The Reserve Bank is gearing up to regulate non-bank institutions. It has split the department that currently regulates banks into two, sectioning out the bit that regulates the FX markets and does macroeconomic research so that the remainder can focus on prudential supervision. No doubt many finance companies are in for a lesson in regulatory bureaucracy. Traffic fatalities on our roads in October were pretty much unchanged over the prior 3 months. But that masks some big regional differences. In the year to October, Auckland's annual road toll has almost halved from 72 to 46. Wellington's is down from 28 to 12. But these gains were more than offset by the carnage in the Waikato, which has risen from 48 to 73. You can get more news and stay up with Newsmaker Views on our news page. Join us again on Monday for the freshest finance news on the web. We'll see you then.